Hello and welcome to the ninth and final of our 2022 Vitality T20 Blast preview shows in association with our friends at the Cricket Draft. My name is Aaron, aka the Cricket Connoisseur, and for the final time in 2022, I have the absolute pleasure and delight of welcoming onto my screen for today, first of all at the top of my screen, the sceptical cricketer himself, Mr. Rory Law, and then at the bottom of your screen, we have, of course, got our resident cricket draft expert, Mr. Chris Dixon. So, chaps, it's been an absolute pleasure all year. It really has. It's been a brilliant competition, hasn't it? The 2022 Vitality T20 Blast. And we're here. We are at the final hurdle. Finals Day 2022 takes place tomorrow, Saturday, the 16th of July at Edgbaston Cricket Ground. And boy, oh boy, have we not got a fantastic occasion in store in the second city. So before we get into the fancy elements of today's show, we go through the week overview, we look at the analyst picks, and then finish with our analyst 11s. Just for the viewers out there, basically, for those who don't know how Finals Day works, in 2022, semi-final 1 will see the Yorkshire Vikings take on the Lancashire Lightning at 11 a.m. British Standard Time. Then at 2:30, we've got the Hampshire Hawks taking on Somerset for that second place in the final. And then at 6:45 p.m. at Edgbaston, potentially under the lights at some point, we have got the final itself for that place as the champions of the 2022 Vitality T20 Blast. So, Rory, with the schedule all out of the way, now that we know how Finals Day works as a concept, I shall head over to you first, mate, for the week overview, heading into Finals Day. What are the key patterns, the trends, the piece of news that we should be aware of heading into Finals Day 2022?
So I'd say that there's an obvious key point in that some players have been released. We see Brooke, we see Parkinson, we see Phil Salt, we see Gleeson, all available for their counties, whereas David Willey, particularly, who many people have after his excellent quarterfinals, seems unlikely to be involved. But I'd say the main thing for me this week is Finals Day. It's hectic. It's carnage. I think it's just time to commit, isn't it? I think at this point, if you're low down on the table, you've just got to guess who's going to be in the final and try and boost yourself up the leaderboard rather than putting all your eggs in one, not all your eggs in one basket, putting your eggs in multiple baskets. It's not going to get you as many points. You might get in a few places, but if you get that final right, you're going to really jump that leaderboard. And at this point, it's got to be worth a go. I think people at the top even might do the same. So even if you're at the top of the league, I'm still not sure playing safe is actually the optimal option.
Very, very good point, to be honest, Rory. Again, it is manic, it's hectic, it's Finals Day. Anything can happen. And actually, talking of our game week leader, at the end of the quarterfinals, at the top of the TCCP leaderboard, the leader's changed again. At the top of the table on 14,735 points, we have Michael Ackland, who's done very, very well. That top three, I think there's 500 points separating them heading into Finals Day. So that will be very, very interesting to see who emerges on top at the end of Finals Day 2022. But aside from our leaders then, and aside from the week overview, let's head into my favourite segment of the entire show, which is, of course, the Analyst Picks. And you should know by now, viewers, how this works. We do, of course, start with our marquee player, the banker, the player that you must captain heading into Finals Day. And Chris, actually, I'm going to play the Uno reverse card. I'm going to start with you for this week's show. You know, magic does happen at TCCP sometimes. Who have you selected as your marquee player heading into Finals Day 2022?
So I've gone with Shadav Khan. There's a lot of all-rounders missing this week, the likes of Livingston and someone else who I couldn't think of. David Willey, that's the one. So I've gone with Shadav Khan, who, given that Yorkshire are missing a few of their batters away with England, he's likely maybe to bat a bit further up the order, and he's almost very likely to bowl his 4 overs for Lee. Doesn't have the massive ownership that some of the other all-rounders have, still reasonably owned, but I'm also backing Yorkshire to go through to Finals Day, to the final. Like Rory, it's worth taking these risks. So I'm picking players from two of the teams that I think are going to go the way. If it doesn't pay off, it doesn't pay off. But if it does, then you'll make those gains. So I was looking for an all-rounder from one of the two teams that are heavily selected in my team. And so I've gone with Shadav Khan.
Fair enough, Chris. Sound logic, reason, and rationale as ever. And for those actually wondering, I know long-term viewers of the show will be wondering, well, where are the stats? There is a reason we don't have stats for today. It's finals day. Anything can happen. Form just goes completely out the window. You do get unlikely heroes. You have these outstanding individual performances. Trust us, stats do not matter at this moment in time. It's all about who performs on the day. So a good pick there, Chris. And actually, talking of Shadab Khan, Rory, I believe you've also selected him as your banker as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in terms of the all-round package that he delivers, he's probably the strongest player at finals day to own for me. I also think that Yorkshire will beat Lancashire. He likely bats top 5 and bowls 4 overs. I think we're getting more to the point that spin's more important through the competition. And he's got that extra international experience. He's played cricket around the world that I think does add a bit of extra edge to your performance on a day like finals day. So I'm hoping that he comes back really strongly and, delivers to the extent that we saw him in last PSL.
Well, to be honest, Rory, I think the Yorkshire fans tuning in to today's show will be hoping for that as well. He hasn't had the greatest of tournaments by his incredibly high standards, but Shadab Khan, finals day, it's a big occasion. Big players stand up and become counted. So Shadab Khan, again, I do think he will have quite the finals day for the men in blue. But aside from our marquee players then, let's head over to our one to watch. And again, this is becoming quite the pattern. I'm looking at your 2 players to watch here. They're both from Yorkshire. So I'm guessing, I think we already know who you 2 think are going to win the Blast. But again, Chris, I'll start with you first, mate. Who have you selected as your one to watch at finals day?
So I've gone with Harry Brook, released by England. So he's going to be playing. Great batsman. He's averaging above 35 at a strike rate of above 150. He has great potential. Still young. Ownership is a bit low because he hasn't been around for the whole tournament. So still kind of look for those differentials in the team. So I've gone with Harry Brook for finals day.
Fair enough, Chris. And you mentioned differentials. We need a differentials counter, don't we? In the top left-hand corner. It seems to crop up every single show. In particular, once the quarterfinals have turned around and everyone's starting to take it all seriously. Yeah, differentials definitely does come into play. And actually, Rory, I'll be interested to know, looking at your pick, did differentials come into your selection here as well?
Massively, yes. I've gone for Bess. I think he's a fantastic player whose stats are very much not helped by the fact that he plays regularly at Headingley. He's 1% owned, or was when I bought him, so might have pushed him up to 2, still a differential. And yeah, I think he's a very solid middle overs bowler who's very economical. And I think when it comes to the pressure of finals day, there, I think there's a lot of value in that. So I think as a massive differential playing for a county that I think will, at the very least, get to the final, I think off spin is a reasonably potent weapon against the Lancashire side. I also think it's a potent weapon against the Hampshire side that I believe will beat Somerset, but isn't that bad against Somerset either. So there's a lot of upside to the Bess pick. I think he's a good player. I think he'll show a lot of what he's got in away matches, like he has done throughout this Blast.
100%, Rory. I think he's very underrated in T20 cricket, and actually in 2022. He has been Yorkshire's most economical bowler. Fair enough, the economy rate is still over 7 runs and over. But again, you mentioned the Headingley factor. He has been very impressive for the Vikings in this year's tournament. And I just think at Edgbaston, there is always that extra element of turn. In particular, on a hot July day, it's set to be about 27, 28 degrees Celsius. I think Bess could actually be a very, very underrated pick. Indeed, heading into finals day 2022. And talking of under-the-radar picks, what a beautiful transition that is into my favourite category when it comes to the analyst picks, which is, of course, the wildcard, the under 100,000 pick who could make all the difference in your team heading into this week's round of fixtures. So, Chris, I'll be interested to know, who did you select as your wildcard heading into finals day?
So I've gone for Somerset's Ben Green. The all-rounder, he's batting a little bit lower than maybe you would because Somerset bat very deep. He's had a great tournament with the ball mainly. I think he's Somerset's leading wicket taker. And he's 14% owned. So it's not massive ownership there. But he offers great value for just 86k, and he's been playing at Taunton, for half of his game so far. Edgbaston might be a little bit in it, a bit less flat than say Taunton would be, but then there's not many places that are flatter than Taunton. So I've gone for him this week, and maybe if Somerset lose a lot of wickets and he comes in a bit earlier, he's an aggressive low order bat that could get some more points with that as well.
Well, I think for the Somerset fans, again, tuning into today's show, Chris, they won't want Ben Green coming out to bat. I think they'll love him bowling and hopefully taking some more wickets. As you rightfully said, he is Somerset's leading wicket taker in this year's tournament. I think he's taken 20 wickets. And yes, the economy rate has been quite high. But again, we talk about the Taunton factor, very, very batting friendly indeed, as we saw in the quarter-final match against Derbyshire. And talking of those quarterfinals, actually, Rory, your pick is very interesting because he was quite expensive in that game against Surrey at the Oval. But I quite like this guy as a cricketer, and I do think he could bounce back at Finals Day 2022. Who have you selected as your wildcard heading into this weekend?
I've gone for Matt Revis. I think we're at that point now. A lot of people have had to make quite a lot of changes for Finals Day. At 49k, bloke who's guaranteed to start, involved in the field, can hold a bat, and actually has very impressive death numbers. He's slightly struggling in other phases, but his death numbers are pretty strong, particularly economy-wise. And I think usually when you're an economical death bowler, there's always a possibility for wickets in these clutch games. So I think 49k is a ludicrous price given what you could potentially get for him. And it's definitely worth the risk at this point. As I've said, Yorkshire are pretty good. And also you've got lots of teams actually that are here who struggle to bat at the death as well. You've got Lancashire who've actually mostly been strong up top and have lost wickets at the end. You've got Somerset who lose a lot of death wickets. So if they're playing either of those teams, yeah, could be in for a few wickets. So definitely worth going.
100% Rory. And mentioning finishing numbers, an interesting stat. Only one Hampshire player, I know you didn't mention the Hampshire Hawks, but only James Fuller has a strike rate of over 150 in this year's T20 Blast. So if Yorkshire do go through with those death bowling options, again, you can see them potentially lifting that trophy for the first time in the club's history. So Matt Revis, I think, a very interesting pick. And as I said, I do back him to have quite a strong performance at Finals Day 2022. But aside from our picks then, folks, let's head into the Analyst 11s. Now, this is going to be tremendously interesting to see how our two analysts have actually shaped their 11s heading into Finals Day 2022. So, Chris, I'll start with you first, mate. Who have you selected in your starting 11 heading into this crunch match of fixtures at Finals Day 2022?
So my 11, starting with the batters, I've gone with Adam Live, Harry Brook, and Will Smead. Dynamic options up the top of the order. Harry Brook, middle order-ish. But Adam Live in, he's had an amazing tournament. He's really blossomed in T20 cricket. Toward the twilight end of his career. Very aggressive batsman in the power play, smashes it around the park. Helped a bit by Headingley, but still he's done very well. And then Harry Brook and Will Smead, two very bright young prospects for England. And then overall, I've gone for this theme quite clearly of Somerset and Yorkshire players. Just the one Hampshire player because you only allowed a maximum of 5 from any county for the Finals Day. So you have to fit one in if you're going to go for this all-out approach. I'm taking that risk. If Lancashire and Hampshire get to the final, then I'm not going to do very well. But I'd rather take that risk to climb. I've got nothing to lose. I'm not in the top 3 at the moment, so I've got nothing to lose with that. All-rounders then, Green, Thompson, Gregory and Shadab Khan. Again, slightly limited options this week with the all-rounders that are missing. But I feel, they cover a few bases there and did the best I could with that. And then with the bowlers, Brad Wheel, a very underrated bowler. I think for Hampshire, as the one Hampshire player I've got in, I had him in previously in my team. So I kind of left him in the team. So that was an easy pick to leave him as the one player that wasn't from Yorkshire or Somerset in my team. And then Pete Siddle and Josh Davey I brought in from Somerset to see if he can. He did well at Finals Day last year. I remember hit a few lower order runs in that crunch game for Somerset. And we'll see what comes out, who comes on top tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it, Chris? There is a lot of risk in that 11, but as you said, at this stage, you've got absolutely nothing to lose. And just because Dino isn't here, and he usually does mention the points deductions, Chris, actually, have you taken a points hit this week or have you not? Have you stayed within the transfer limit?
Yeah, I took 2, I think. So I needed to make 7 transfers. I believe you get 5 free transfers. You get a maximum of 10, and then any above 5 you get deducted for each transfer. So I just did the bare minimum that I could to get a full 11 that's playing at Finals Day, and my whole of my bench is not playing. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the same with me, to be honest, Chris. I've taken the 100-point deduction as well. So it will be interesting. As you said, if it is a Lancashire-Hampshire final, yeah, that will be a little bit awkward for your team. But even if one of those sides do get through, you've got a very good chance of some very good points at finals day. So I quite like that 11, I must say, Chris, and obviously wishing you the best heading into finals day 2022. And Rory, as we welcome you back onto the screen, I'm very interested to know who you've selected for this week's round of fixtures. Who has made your starting 11 for 2022's T20 Blast Finals Day?
So with the bat, I've gone for James Vince, Adam Lyth and Will Smead. All seem fairly difficult to ignore, all opening the batting. Vince's form's been superb. Not always been as big as advocate, but I think he's changed my mind a bit. Who hasn't he changed his mind of at this point? All-rounders, obviously, Dom Bess. Tom Lammonby, who I think is an interesting differential. I think he can hit a very long ball and a good player under pressure. Liam Dawson's my vice-captain and Shadab, of course, as captain. Tom Kohler-Cavmore as my wicket-keeper. Interestingly, always seems to do amazingly well on Sky, which I appreciate isn't actually a stat with foundation, but, we hope it happens again. And with the bowling attack, Mason Crane, Tom Hartley and Nathan Ellis. So fairly invested in, a fairly reasonable... I don't mind if Somerset beat Hampshire, but Yorkshire to beat Lancashire, definitely the key for me.
I was about to say that. It is interesting with both of your 11s, actually, as we add Chris back onto the screen. Not much faith in the Lancashire Lightning to go through to the final. That's very interesting. I've actually got them as the winners, which will probably be disproven in the semi-final when Yorkshire ultimately probably beat them, now that I've predicted that. But obviously a lot of risk, a lot of reward with both of those 11s. And this week, because it is finals day, I'm not going to ask for a prediction. Of course, Dino isn't here, so we can't have Chris being the oracle and predicting who will emerge victorious between Rory and Dino this week. So instead, lads, I've come up with something a bit different. For those who aren't aware, at finals day, we always have this incredible event, which is known as the mascot race. So this week, folks, you knew it was coming, lads. Instead of predicting, the winners for this week, or predicting even the winners of the whole comp, I want to know who will win Mascot Race 2022, starting with you first, Chris. Who'd you back to emerge victorious?
Well, as a Surrey fan, as I remember, I've got to back my own county's mascot, so I've got to go with Caesar the Lion. Although didn't you say there was someone that's been training for it, so they may well beat them. I can't remember which county had their mascot that's been actually training for this on finals day, but I can't go past backing my own county's mascot.
Fair enough, Chris. It's a great name as well, isn't it? Caesar the Lion. It used to be Rory, didn't it? But that changed, and that's actually made it a lot easier. Otherwise, there would have been some confusion with one of our analysts on the screen. And talking of the sceptical cricketer, Rory Law, do you think that Stumpy the Wyvern can emerge victorious, cross that line and take Somerset to glory, or do you back another mascot to win this year?
I've always, equally as with finals day performances, I've never been that impressed with Somerset's mascot performances either. So when he's steering clear of Stumpy as a prediction, I'm intrigued by Vinny the Viking. I've committed a lot of eggs to the Yorkshire basket. May as well do another one. I think there's also a possibility the helmet might create more of a streamline than some of the other outfits, and it might be easier to wear with it's actually a human. So there's obviously some really, really sound logic that's got into this one.
Absolutely, yeah. Two sensible choices. Again, no one backing Lanky the Giraffe. Hugh Bear. What about Hugh Bear, the hometown hero? Again, that's quite a streamlined aerodynamic one. Got Steeler the dog as well. Nuts the squirrel. I mean, for people who are outside of the UK, you're probably thinking, what on earth are these three on about? But this is the beauty of the mascot race. And Alfred the Gorilla from Gloucestershire, always a very, very strong candidate as well. So, will be interesting. I'm going to go with my hometown hero, Hugh Bear. We've not won it for years, so I'm going to go with Hugh. So we've got Hugh, Caesar, and Vinny the Viking. What a trio that is for Finals Day 2022. And of course, viewers, let us know your predictions. Who do you think will emerge victorious in the mascot race? Please feel free to let us know in the comments below. But that is essentially it from us three here at the County Cricket Podcast, not just for this show, but for all of the T20 Plus preview shows in 2022. To each and every single one of you wonderful viewers who's tuned in, thank you very much for doing so. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.